see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Yeah, it's 50. One shot, one kill. What's the deal? Yeah,
Donald Trump.
Listen,
And you fucking
little
missed.
homie, when it rains, it pours.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome to the podcast.
Don't steal my
Kendrick?
shit.
It's your turn.
Welcome to the podcast.
There you go.
With all the current events in the world, I'm sure everybody can get behind our little intro there and get a good laugh out of it. We're not going to go into a bunch of politics because everybody else is doing it, so we're going to just keep it back to what we know and what we like to talk about, and that's going to be life and business. Nick and I and Kendrick had a conversation, and we think our topic for today and what we want to really talk about with people is going to be when is the end of winning, Nick?
When is the end of winning? Winning is at the end, but the real question is when is the end? The way I look at it is that if you're never finished. You're never finished on what you're doing. So we always go through life. Everybody wants to go through life. We talk about it here all the time about is when do we ever win? Because we feel like we're losing every day. If it's not one thing, it's another. And the biggest thing is that going through life is that if you decide that you're finished, that's when you win. But do you really win? I mean, that's for you guys to say on what your goals were or what your aspirations were for life. But more at the end of the day is that we're not finishers. We are people that keep going, and there is never an end. So in reality, are we ever going to win?
So you're saying we're not two pump chumps,
We're not two pump chumps, dude.
my man.
But we also never finish.
So Kendrick, how do you feel about that? Because we all are going to have a different perspective on what we think the end is and what winning is and what we consider a win and or a loss and what keeps propelling us on the day-to-day or even just goals in general, and especially with the crazy world we live in right now.
Yeah, crazy. I think you focus on the small victories. They might not be wins, but that'll keep you propelling going forward. And if you only focus on the losses and not winning, then you're never going to win. And like he said, you don't win until the end. Well, when's the end? So Take the small victories. It might not seem like a win, but get yourself a little pump and be good to go.
I think you can tie it back to where it's like you can win the battle, but you won't win the war. I think that's a good way to look at it.
I mean,
thing.
you've heard
The
me
little
say it.
wins.
We say it, and like Kendrick, you hear me say it, and that's where we all. That's why all three of us pretty much kind of see eye to eye when it comes to anything we do, whether it's here, outside of work, or whatever. Because in our mind, if you can't do the small things right, you can't do the big things right. And the small things, regardless of work or anything, or winning or failing, those small things compound into big things, big problems, or big solutions, or just longevity of winning. And I think a lot of people really should sit back and take a look at that, especially right now. We all are feeling the pressures of the world, right? We're all feeling failure. We're all feeling life. That's the best way to put it. And so this topic is really good because we all talk to different people every day at work and in our personal life. And I mean, I think you guys can agree with me. The majority of the conversations that we're having with people, the trajectory is usually negative, and that's a loss. No, take what we can, and we do it too. We all do it.
Oh, yeah.
We got to take that small win.
I think everybody's really anxious right now because of the world of the unknown.
Yeah, dude.
Because that's the biggest thing. I mean, and we're not going to get into politics, but like at the beginning of the year, everybody's like, we're coming into an election year. Well, you didn't know that, Joe Biden was going to drop out of the race. And that's the biggest thing for people that vote for that side. And it doesn't matter which side you vote for, one or another, but it's more of literally the unknown. Because now we as American people are at the point to where we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen between July and November and then January. We have no idea. And I think that's the biggest thing. And that's why everybody's just kind of flipped to that negative side of it, because at this point, I think majority of the humane society thinks in a way of, well, you can't get any worse than we're at right now. And I truly believe that. A lot of people don't think that we can get worse than we are right now. In reality, we can. We are not that bad.
Yeah.
We really aren't. Just as people and as a country. and we talk about it all the time as far as doing the little things to the small things, or the small things to the big things. And like the other day, walking in the gas station, picking up all the trash that's outside, and I'm like, dude, are you gonna touch that? Because it was like a UV bottle. Someone's taking their 9 o'clock shooter because we're there at 9:30, and there's a bottle of UV sitting there, and I was, I don't want to get herpes, dude. I don't want to pick that up. Just pick it up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, because those things compound in your life, and that's what builds us for those. That's what builds us for the fight, right? Mm-hmm. The fight of life. You just said it best. You know, people are thinking, man, it can't get no worse than this. And let me tell you, people, that's because we're conditioned. I mean, and this not conditioned by the government either, conditioned in life, because as you get older, things are just kind of like, oh, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Oh, too bad. Before you know it, you're 60 years old, and that's the way it is. Right. You're still broke. You still can't pay your bills. Yep. You don't have no friends. I mean, we could go on, and that's that mindset of winning and losing, where people are like, I can never win. Whoa. Let's rewind this real quick.
Right.
I haven't talked about this a lot on the podcast, but you know, I don't always live my life the way that I explain it on here. I do the majority of the time. But the other day, I was listening to Andy Frisella. That's my main podcast. Everybody knows that. Listen to him, period. Everybody, it's plug. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are anywhere in the world right now and you're in the mindset of the worst, go listen to the dude's podcast, man. This dude is not just smart in business, but as a human being, this dude's on a different level. And it really smacked me in the face, because you guys heard me talk about the bamboo tree story, right? You know, we plant that seed. Yep. We plant it. 5 years, man. You don't see a sprout, right? A sprout of nothing from a bamboo tree. And then what happens after roughly 5 years of watering it, nourishing it, it builds its root system. I mean, this thing shoots up. It can shoot up to 80 feet tall. 80 feet tall in less than, I think it's 60 days, 90 days, something like that. Quote me on it. But that's what we have to remember. What we're doing today we don't see the fruits of this for 5 years or 3 years. And we all do it. I do it all the time, where I'm like, dang, man, shit, this ain't working. And then I'm like, yeah, it is. It just didn't. It's just, it's at a different level now. We're at a different level. And when people in their personal life, man, life sucks. Time out a minute. Where do you live? What kind of house do you have? What kind of vehicle do you drive? Are these all seeds that you planted and wins along the way that you're forgetting, those small wins? And you're not remembering that you planted that a long time ago. Because there's also a dichotomy to it too, because we got a whole nother dichotomy to wins and losses, where we celebrate the wins too long, and that's when comfortable and complacency sets in. And I think that's where there's a fine line. You know, you don't celebrate enough and remember those little wins to keep that fight going, or you just think you won the war, right?
And that's when you start losing again.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's where we're at in the world right now. And that's why I think there's a division too. You have people that, as a nation and as a world for that matter, or a small percentage understands that life, business, and things like that are made up of the small little increments. And that is big in your life. Because if they're big and you celebrate them all the time, they're not all the time. It's one time. Right. You know?
Yeah. I mean, we talk about it as far as planting the seed and the bamboo tree. It's the same thing as Rome. Rome wasn't built overnight.
Yeah.
And great things come to those who wait. And that's the biggest thing in society, is that we have to wait it out. But that's where Americans and even us, most of the time, we are impatient.
Absolutely, man.
Instant gratification. That's kind of what we want. We want answers right now. We want the positives right now. We want, we change one thing in a process in the business, and we want to see the effects immediately, right now,
tomorrow,
right,
yeah. Or right this minute,
right. And that's absolutely unrealistic. That's how society lives, and that's where being the change you want to see in the world. That's where something like that comes into play. Is that understanding that there's a process for everything. And the process doesn't happen overnight. The process takes time. And there's a reason you can't climb Mount Everest in one day. You can't climb any mountain in one day and get to the peak of it. because it's a process. You have to take the correct route. You have to have, I don't know all the science behind climbing Everest, but it's just, there's a reason that someone goes up with you because they know the process, they've mastered the process. And that's what you do as leaders and as managers within a company, is that you are supposed to make this process, learn this process, become masters at this process, and then teach those that come and follow behind you. And that's where learning to be patient with that and not expect the instant gratification comes into play.
Yeah, I mean,
Good talk.
no,
No, that was good. I do got
it
a
was
question
really
for
good.
you though. So, like employees,
Yep.
how do you feel? Like, how would you handle an employee that's frustrated because he doesn't see the vision that we see here? If we had an employee like that,
You instill the vision. That's what a
Right.
leadership role is.
That's what I'm saying.
Compared, that's where you got to separate leadership from management.
Okay.
Because management, you sit here as a manager and you do point fingers. Because that's what a manager is supposed to do, because a manager has a job. A leader is not obligated to be a leader. They choose that position. You're not put in a position of leadership. You're put in a position of management. But usually as a higher up, whether if you're an owner or CEO, CFO, COO, whatever you want to call it, you pick your management team wisely, because you do want your management team to be leaders, but there's managers and then there's leaders out there.
Right.
I'm also, I mean, with you saying that, I'm a firm believer, and I always will be. It doesn't matter what people say. I do believe that the most successful people in business and in life, in their personal life, when it comes to things like this, and you're talking about leadership and management, right?
Yep.
You can lead that back to a marriage. You can lead that back to being a father. You can lead that back. Absolutely 1,000%. There's leaders and there's managers. And the most successful people in the world, they don't have managers.
No.
They have leaders.
Yep.
And that's just how it has to work.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to being a leader, it's a choice. And we know that the majority of the time, it takes very, very, very selfless, but very, very selfless and thick-skinned motherfucker to be a leader.
Yep.
Because they're not going to like you. Right now. They will. They will in
stick it
time.
out.
What was that?
If they stick it out, they will.
Yes, but they don't have to stick it out, though, either. I'm a firm believer, too, that there are people come and go to, and they'll respect you as a leader. They don't understand that. They don't understand it. Right. They might be at a company for 3 years, and yeah, man, you were hard on them and this and that, and they might, let's say they're 25, and then by 30, they're like, damn, man, Nick and Kendrick, man, I remember they used to say this, and it clicked one day. That was you being a good leader, right? That was not being a boss, being a leader, and it took 5 years for them to be like, oh my God, ding, ding, light bulb. That's leadership. No one ever said that, man, I remember this manager that I worked. Right. Absolutely not. Right. They're not going to use the term leader because they don't understand that either. Nick and Kendrick, or boom, boom. And that is what a leader is. A leader is not somebody that's looking for a pat on the back for doing their job, for herding sheep. We don't herd sheep. We lead people, and we lead them in the direction that we would like them to go. As the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink it. Mm-hmm. You paint the vision for them, that's our job, and then they have to buy in. But it works that way in business and in life. You got to get your kids to buy into your parenting. You got to get, you know what I'm saying? You got to get your friends to buy into your friendship because you work a lot, or you don't drink, or,
Right.
It's a buy-in program. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, with the question that you posed is, how do you get people to buy in?
Yeah.
You can't get them to. They have to do it themselves, man.
Yeah.
You can give them all the tools and the vision, but they have to do it. And that's a hard part. And that's the hard part about being in a leadership position, because naturally we were like, man, don't you see it? Just buy in. I mean, no different than what's going on in the world with government. Yeah. Buy in to us. We'll give you money. We'll do this. Hell no, I ain't buying into your shit. You're just trying to freaking take everything away. Or if I buy into either one of them, where's the caveat here?
Right.
Where's the red flag? There's always a catch. There's always a catch when you have people managing instead of leading.
I think of management as short term. Leadership is long term.
Absolutely.
Because if you have good leadership somewhere, no matter if employees come and go, they will always remember that. management, they won't remember because they go from job to job. They'll have a different management team each time. But being able to set yourself apart from a manager to a leader and having those more qualified leadership roles, then that's something that guys take with them long term. We've experienced it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's 50. One shot, one kill. What's the deal? Yeah,
Donald
what's the
Trump.
deal? Listen,
And you fucking
little
missed.
homie, when it rains, it pours.